You aren't weak because you're not training hard enough. You're weak because you're following a bodybuilding program. And if you're doing weighted calisthenics, that's a huge problem. After almost 2 years of training, this approach is what got my pull-ups to 40 kilos and my weighted dips to 60 kilos. The problem is that all fitness content nowadays is based on bodybuilding. So even if you're doing the right exercises or training hard enough, that means you're still following the wrong rules for strength. Here's how to actually train for strength in weighted calisthenics. The first thing, progressive overload. Bro, so many people get this wrong, but it's actually so simple, right? You need to be increasing the weight while keeping the exact same form. If your form changes at all, like if it doesn't get better, if it only gets worse, that means it's not progressive overload. Just a year ago, when I was doing weighted pull-ups, I would learn to just kip harder each time and just convince myself, oh, my chin is getting above the bar. I cannot emphasize this enough, but the form has to look exactly the same. In bodybuilding, if your form changes a little bit, like, oh, it's fine, because, bro, you won't see the bodybuilding results in the next 3 months or like 6 months of you doing them. You have to be consistent. But in strength, bro, you see it the exact next session. If you do something wrong, it's like, oh, it keeps on going down, keeps on going down, keeps on going down. So you need to get your technique down. You need to make sure it looks the exact same, right? But also keep it that way. So record yourself doing those like pull-ups or dips or whatever, and make sure you log them, right? If you record them, that's fine because you see how much weight that is and like how many reps you did and that the form is good, right? But if you're not recording them, at least make sure to log them and write them down. If you aren't doing any of these things, progressive overload, right? Basically the only sign we know that we're getting stronger is out the window. You can just forget about it. So that's the most important thing. But if you want to optimize your training further, you need to switch from your push-pull leg style program or upper-lower or something like that to a movement-based program in which you're doing, let's say, one day pull-ups and dips, right? Squats and muscle-ups, right? Just like how in video games, you get good at things separately. Like you grind one thing for a long time and then you switch to the next thing to eventually balance your character. In training, you pick a few movements, like 4 or 5, like if you're training for 5 days, you pick 4, right? So you need to pick one less exercise than the amount of days you're training per week. But doing something like a push-pull legs program, on the first day, let's say push, you go, you bench, right? And then the next exercise is chest flies, and then you do tricep extension, and then like, I don't know, lateral raise. Or maybe then you do some incline dumbbell press. But the problem is, you need to be doing a lot more bench. You're giving your strength potential away when you're doing 6 different exercises in your push day. So we need to lock this in to some specific exercises. And how we're going to do that is with frequency, how often we're going to do it, and volume, just sets and reps. So we just need to do more of that exercise and more often. We need to be specialized, right? And how are we going to do this? With a special program. This is not special at all, actually, in like powerlifting and stuff, but this hasn't arrived yet, for example, in the calisthenics world, and I don't know why, so I'm bringing this to you. What it is a movement-based split. I'm gonna put a photo right here so you can see what I'm talking about, but basically, you're training like just specific movements, and how you're gonna make a split like this, it's kind of complicated, kind of confusing to make, so I made this like simple AI tool to make the program for you, right? What this is, you just copy the text in the description, it might be in a link, and what you need to do is paste that into what I found works best is Gemini, like Google's AI. You paste that into there, and then you fill in the blank, so you work how many days you work out per week, and also your priorities of exercises, right? Let's say I have my first 2 priorities are bench and muscle ups, and then my last 2 priorities are dips and deadlifts, for example, or dips and pull-ups. So I put those there, and I make sure that I'm training less movements than days per week. So if I'm training 5 days a week, I choose 4 movements. Then you change the Gemini from like fast to thinking to make sure it gives you the best result. And then it'll spit out this like very good workout program for you. And this will be basically exactly to your needs, right? It'll also give you 2 choices. You can ask it to like move around days or whatever. And why you're gonna get way better results with this is because you actually have focus on the movements you want to be getting better at. Who knew, right? You also have frequency, right? You constantly have like sets again, like throughout the week. You're doing maybe 3 times a week, right? Instead of like push-pull legs, which is just 2. And that makes a massive difference because the first sets are always the most effective. You also don't have junk volume because you're not gonna go and do 10 sets for chest, right? And it's a fresh and different way to work out. Your body is gonna get the like fatigue spread kind of everywhere throughout the week. So what's gonna happen is you're always gonna kind of feel fresh, and as you go, you'll find out how to manage that, right? Your progress might have already been pretty good, but you watching these videos about optimization has some insane return on investment because your gains are gonna be, let's say, 30 or 50% better than that. Because imagine, you're doing the exercise more often, you're doing more sets of it, so your body's gonna get better at it. And next, you have the 2 big external factors outside of your training. The first one is not eating enough. The second one is sleep. These are the things I did that I put barely any work into, but got me some pretty ridiculous results, right? So, first one for eating more is track your protein, not your calories, because protein is a lot easier to track. Next is have meals like between meals. So you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, or breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? Here you put a meal, here you put a meal. A meal can also just be like a protein shake. Make sure you're putting something in between these meals. This is not a snack. Don't just go and eat random stuff like constantly. Make sure it's an actual meal with proper macros, right? So you're not getting in some junk food, and make sure it has some protein. And when I used to wake up and have to take the decision, oh my god, what do I have to eat? Do I have enough to make it? Bro, just have 2 of the same meals every day, right? So I usually have an omelet for breakfast. That's been like, I don't know, for a year now, maybe 2 years. And I always have a protein shake. Those are like my bare minimum. Just follow those, what I told you, and maybe even progress at them, like slowly eat a bit more protein every week, and make sure you put them on a habit tracker, right? So put the days of the week, put the habits, right? And when you do that on the day of the week, right? If you did that today, let's say, you tick it, yeah, done. And that'll just make sure you keep yourself consistent. And you obviously know you need to be eating more food to get bigger because the muscle won't come out of nowhere, right? Because you're probably doing a lot at like, you know, being a teenager, so you need to have the max like factors helping you to get stronger, right? Because your body does not want to get stronger, it wants to always stay in the exact like strength level where it's at right now. And now, to get better sleep, these also put on your habit tracker, so make that habit tracker right now, get a piece of paper, write down the days of the week, write down your habits. Now I'll tell you about the sleep habits you need to be doing. The first one, as I'm sure you've heard this a lot, is sleep and wake up at the exact same time. Even if you're getting 7 hours of sleep, this is way better than having a random, like, everyday different sleeping routine. Just make sure it's the same, right? Make sure it's the same. Make sure you're getting at least like 7.5 hours. And how you're gonna get the same routine every day is by managing the light, right? So the light, I mean mostly sunlight. And how you're gonna do this is when you wake up, go in the sun, okay? Don't like look through out the window, just go in the sun. It'll wake you up and it'll tell your body, okay, this is when we need to be waking up. Then, before you go to sleep, make sure it's dark because your body can be like, okay, it's dark, we need to sleep, right? And then you'll basically have your whole day arranged so that you actually feel energetic when you should be feeling good, right? Obviously, use the habit tracker to do this, but also set an alarm. I literally do this, right? Set an alarm for when you should like turn off the lights and stuff. So if you know you're gonna go and like fall asleep at 9, you should have the alarm like 1.5 hours earlier. So it's like, okay, time to turn off the stuff. If you're like really desperate, have it like 45 minutes earlier or something, but at least do something. I even went so far as to getting like just sunglasses for the night, right? I got some like dark sunglasses, which are like orange. And so I make my body like, I can go to dark places and just make them even darker, right? Tell my body to fall asleep. Also, don't use any dopamine generators, right? Like your phone, social media, stuff like that. Within, let's say, 30 minutes to an hour from when you wake up and 30 minutes to an hour from when you go to sleep. The more kind of serious you are about it, obviously it'll be more hours, but if you're actually serious, I mean, you just wouldn't be using like dopamine generators, right? How you're gonna implement these? Put them all into your habit tracker. Please, bro, this is gonna make such a big difference. I cannot underestimate this enough. Just make a habit tracker, put them on there, and make sure you're actually ticking the habit tracker every day or whenever you do the habits. And also have the alarm set up so it'll be like, okay, it's dark now, I have to turn off the lights. To recap, you have number one, progressive overload, and you have to be doing it correctly. Number two is have a tiered movement split, that's what it's called, and you can just make that by, pasting it into ChatGPT, feed it your info, whatever. You don't have to feed it some insane info. You're just telling it how many days a week and the movements you want to do. And last is your diet and sleep. Those are the external factors. And genuinely follow these for the next 2 months. You can watch like other fitness content and stuff, but just don't change your program. Keep it the same because that's what's keeping you from being consistent. You'll see how far you do come if you really, really do stick to them. That's it for today. See you, bro. Keep overloading.